Audit visits Sing Sing prison. Sunday saw the latest video release of Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Reyes, an attempted audit of sorts from outside of the Sing Sing Correctional Facility in Ossining, New York. Stopping about 200 yards from the guard tower protecting the maximum security facility, he passed by a fence with instructions on restrictions for entry into the buildings. Reyes did not show any signs restricting access to the area. Reyes calmly walked onto the property and continued towards the facility until a guard in a guard tower asked him if he needed help. A female security officer then drove up and asked him what he was doing in the area. The YouTuber explained that he had every right to be where he was as there were no signs limiting access to the public. When the female guard pointed out that there were posted signs saying that it was state property, Reyes questioned the meaning of state property. In Reyes' explanation, state property was paid for by the public, making it public property. As a taxpayer in New York State, it meant that it was his property and he had every right to access it, especially since there were no signs restricting access. 3 men in red shirts reading that they were weapons training officers arrived on scene and got the same responses to their queries from Reyes. At one point, there was a standoff with the security guard and officers standing around, doing nothing, and Reyes wandering around aimlessly. A 5th security guard arrived on scene when Reyes tried to leave on foot down another road at the side of the facility. He explained that it was private property, which Reyes immediately challenged as it was state and not private property under the definition provided by Reyes. After hours of essentially standing around and letting the sun start to set, Reyes ended the encounter and walked away, proclaiming another victory. Reyes' actions have done nothing to spark the GoFundMe market. As for another day, none of his GoFundMe campaigns have picked up any new donations. Saturday was actually won by our own ongoing expenses campaign, which saw a $10 donation to win the day. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos like share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Decastro declines further. Will he burn out? DeleteLawz Jose Chile Decastro's decline continued Saturday afternoon as the second half of his Saturday live stream displayed his continuing lack of awareness of his own pending financial ruin. We ended our coverage of Decastro's live stream for deadline reasons yesterday, as he would go on for another 2 hours after when we needed to stop. That second half started with Decastro openly wishing violence on Kevin Robinson, a former police officer turned Phoenix, Arizona, city council person. Decastro was upset about continuing coverage of an assault on a disabled man by Phoenix police, which has drawn an investigation by the Department of Justice. While Robinson said that he'd need to see the footage before declaring his opinion on it, in the clip that Decastro played multiple times, he said things did look bad for the Phoenix police force. The YouTuber wished that police would assault Kevin Robinson in a similar way to how they assaulted the man on the video. Gleefully wishing violence on the man while laughing and smiling at the thought of the assault. Later, Decastro again recounted how it only became bad for non-black people to say the harder N-word after the death of George Floyd. He again claimed that no one had a problem with the usage of the word by non-black people before then, and because of it, he had to stop listening to his favorite 90s rap music because he could no longer sing along to the music. He again became weirdly enraged when he was told that Don Newman could not access commissary or make phone calls yet at the Weber County Jail. Decastro attempted to call the jail multiple times and would not accept that Newman was in initial isolation after being brought to jail and would be able to access her accounts after she was processed. Eventually, he called again and after claiming he was press, was then told they couldn't help him further as they were not allowed to speak to press. He was told to call back during normal business hours on Monday to speak to a public informant officer. Decastro took in $43 in super chats during the live stream. He wouldn't announce trifold sales for the show, but somehow was giving out 10 free trifolds despite the math not going in his favor for donations towards the free trifolds. The latest promotion saw Decastro claim that for every trifold bought on his website would result in another free trifold being sent out to a fan with slower shipping and no broccoli wad rubber band. There were simply not enough announced sales and super chats to fund the 10 announced trifold giveaways. The YouTuber only briefly addressed the continuing disaster surrounding his launch of TeamDLZ.com. He promised that it would be fixed on Sunday, but as midday has passed on Sunday the site continues to be down. Decastro ended his day by ranting about the moon landing of all things, responding to an Elon Musk video about SpaceX on Twitter with, "This is gorgeous." Only thing, about the commentary in this video, we did not go to the moon. That's just not true. We will continue to monitor Decastro's decline as he tweets or goes live again.
Benson makes fundraising plea for family. Regan Benson was joined by Robert, the man she saved from certain death from frostbite in Englewood, Colorado, last winter, as she made a desperate plea for money on behalf of a family in need in the area. Benson explained that $1,000 of the funding from her Helping Hands for Dignity 501c3 that was earmarked for winter housing had to be used for her legal defense against various cases brought against her in Englewood. With that money gone, she said she had to do a fundraising drive. She quickly raised $120 in the remaining minutes of her 16-minute live stream, now claiming that the money was going to put up a single mother and her 4 children for a week in the hotel that she uses for her homeless outreach cases. The homeless activist claimed that she needed $490 for her goal and wasn't sure of the next step in the fundraiser, as the hotel contacted her directly. Benson previously had announced that she was suspending activity for her homeless outreach program after months of negative interaction with police and city councils in both Denver and Englewood. Benson claimed that an attorney was secured for a lawsuit against police in Englewood for excessive force, and that soon heads will roll. The YouTuber was giddy at the thought of any change to the police in Englewood, despite the urgency and seriousness of her fundraising needs. Robert has been making significant progress since having parts of his foot amputated earlier in the year. To her credit, Benson has been at Robert's side since taking him off the side of the road in a snowstorm in Englewood last winter. The pair were actually celebrating Robert's progress with a steak dinner at Texas Roadhouse Saturday night, with Robert eating 7 rolls and Benson complaining about cold vegetables, when Benson received the phone call about the family in need. Tomorrow marks the first scheduled Englewood City Council meeting since Benson has been banned from the Englewood City Council chambers for 45 days. Just last week, Benson defiantly attended an Englewood Public Library meeting in a thwarted attempt to humiliate a library worker. This is a developing story.
Decastro verbally assaults woman at police station. I'm Yvette Peterson, and this is a really cool news flashback to January 7, 2023. Jose Chile Decastro attempted to audit a police station in Henderson, Nevada, on January 6, 2023. Decastro entered the police station and approached a mom and child. The mom asked Decastro to tell the child about the rights all Americans have. They had a brief exchange before Decastro wandered around the station, eventually filming the men's room and a water fountain. The woman again approached Decastro and asked him to stop filming while her child was being interviewed by a police officer. Decastro replied that he would move if the woman wanted to share secrets with the police. Then he stood in place. The woman became enraged and began to raise her voice towards Decastro. Her actions attracted the police, who separated the two and asked Decastro to exit the building. Decastro asked the police officers to de-escalate and began to explain that he was a constitutional law scholar and audited for a living. He threatened the police with a civil rights lawsuit if they interfered with his rights. He eventually dismissed the officers, and they walked off once he appeared calm. Decastro remained in the building for some time after the incident. Eventually, the sergeant on duty approached Decastro and explained that Decastro had the right to film in the lobby but did not have the right to film while the minor was giving her personal information. When Decastro said that he was going to correct the officer declined to listen and walked away. Eventually leaving the station, Decastro finished the broadcast by making a number of confusing statements afterwards, including claiming to have given up swearing, that his DeleteLawz Clips channel was shadow banned, and that the police sergeant did not understand the First Amendment. DeleteLawz announces pending rebrand. DeleteLawz Jose Chile Decastro announced on his live stream on Monday that YouTube was effectively killing his channel, and he would soon be rebranding under the First Amendment Auditor moniker on a new channel. Decastro showed live metrics as his channel was losing viewers in real time and claimed that for the past 10 days that his channel has been stuck at the 623,000 range and was at risk of falling back to the range of 622,000. Blaming YouTube for what he claims to be significant declines in his subscribers, Decastro alleged that YouTube is forcibly canceling his subscribers and had his viewers check to see if they had been unsubscribed. The problem, of course, is that Decastro has always been accused of either buying subscribers and views or having them purchased for him. In our own reports dating back to January of 2023, Decastro was pulling in a little under 200 live viewers during chats while he had 57,000 subscribers. Currently, Decastro averages around 200 live viewers on his YouTube channel to his 623,000 subscribers, only gaining massive amounts of subscribers on his lives if he goes to the vertical format or if it's a major personal event in his life. Decastro's current claims of making several $1,000s in revenue per month and then having it limited to around $1,000 per month is also echoed in the old articles dating back to 2023. It seems to be a regular pattern for his channel. Another angle could come from the FTC, as the Federal Trade Commission has been cracking down on influencers using fake subscription services to inflate their subscriber base. The crackdown began around the time we noticed a significant drop-off in Decastro's watch hours in August. Decastro, of course, has blamed the drop-off on an organized effort by YouTube to kill his channel. He now claims that a filter was put over his channel when he was released from jail in July, and he believes that the only option is to kill the channel and start over as First Amendment auditor. Defying notices from his own audience, Decastro claimed that his TeamDLZ.com website was up and working, despite it still displaying a countdown screen days after its supposed launch. The YouTuber showed off a new logo for 1AA and said that he would be dropping the DeleteLawz branding and would more than likely not reorder more DeleteLawz branded hoodies or merchandise, as his efforts will be on the 1AA project. He reassured his viewers that he was in the process of trademarking First Amendment Auditor and would vigorously defend his trademark should he be awarded it. Turning his attention to Dawn Newman and updating her status in jail, Decastro played a recorded call from Newman's neighbor Rosemary Coolidge, who said there was a massive conspiracy by the state of Arizona to put Newman in jail. Decastro took in $179 in super chats and said he brought in $210 from Cash App donations during the stream. The Cash App has been earmarked for Newman's defense, while the super chats will apparently go towards paying for the 10 free trifolds Decastro claimed he was sending out tonight. He also promised that he would be calling lawyers in Arizona to see if anyone was interested in defending Newman pro bono. He has not started a previously mentioned effort to raise $20,000 to Newman's bond, 10% of $200,000, and it is unlikely that he'll turn his attention back to the GoFundMe market anytime soon. The GoFundMe market was dead for Sunday, with no new donations coming in for any of the accounts we follow. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel, https://gofundme.me/b8144e31. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Freeman mocks court after November delay. James Freeman Springer went live from Crawford County, Arkansas, Monday morning with an update on his scheduled court date for a driving infraction last week on his way from the Lexington takeover. Freeman said that his Monday court appearance had been moved to a November court date, which he was upset about because he had stayed in Crawford County over the weekend in order to be able to attend his hearing. He claimed that he forced the court clerk to give him written notice as proof that he had made the court date, and jokingly said that he was going to put out a warrant for the judge's arrest for failure to appear. Freeman said he vigorously complained to the court clerk about the change, as staying extra days was an inconvenience as he lived 1,000 miles away and it was taking him away from his wife, his 6 children, and his business. He also said it was taking him away from the Audit event that was going on in Florida this week. The YouTuber spent a great deal of time rallying against the government, reaffirming his belief that there was no need for organized government. Again, as part of those beliefs, he jokingly dismissed the court case using his own authority. Freeman was in Mississippi last week to attend the Lexington takeover event. He left early in order to take Sean Buckner back to Oklahoma after Auditor Buckner had a blow-up with event organizer Ron Durbin, and Durbin was hospitalized and arrested. He was pulled over on Wednesday, so it's not certain why he stayed in Arkansas for almost a week, despite his 2 days claims for the court hearing. Freeman indicated that he was on his way home now, that court had been delayed instead of heading to the Audit event. No updates were provided during the live stream as to Ron Durbin's status or updates as to the ramifications of the split between Durbin and Buckner. Neither Durbin nor Buckner have made public statements about their split. Wallace has problems with plasma donations. Floyd Wallace announced on his Sunday live stream that the local hospital that was collecting his plasma found problems with his samples and had lowered his rate to $100 from $150, significantly hindering his ability to further donate to support himself. Wallace did not indicate what kind of problems his samples were providing healthcare workers, though he was upset because he was expecting to donate several times at the $150 rate before facing rate reductions that literally halve the price. He also complained about the impact the donations were having on his body as he was extra tired since the start of his donations. The YouTuber again announced his travel plans for later in the week were definitely, maybe, possibly canceled as he was waffling over what exactly his probation officer told him about traveling while he still owed a significant amount on his probation-related fees. To be clear, Wallace paid off the fines and fees associated with his actual charges out of Grayson, Texas, last week, but says he was surprised to find out that there was a $360 fee associated with probation that he had to pay. Compounding things was the fact that he claims he can only pay up to $240 of the fine this early in his probation, and that he's already devoted $40 towards that figure. His story about what his probation officer said about travel has changed multiple times, with Sunday's version being that he would be unable to leave the country until the fine is paid, but later changed again to indicate that he can leave whenever he wants to as he was free to travel. Wallace again waffled over his pending jail time as he's facing a November 12, 2024, hearing for a blind plea, where judge will determine sentencing for his infraction in Oklahoma for obstructing an officer. The YouTuber again claimed that he'd probably get 2 months in jail, which will be reduced to 26 days with good behavior. He also seemed to seriously consider live streaming from jail, as he could empower a friend to stream his calls from jail. Jason Dollarhide, whose wife Heather accused Wallace of sexually assaulting last year, attempted to live stream while on the phone with Jose Chile Decastro last year and was punished for his actions. Decastro himself also had time in the hole when he live streamed portions of his calls while in the Clark County Detention Center in Nevada earlier in the year. Wallace got angry at chat user Sheed, who super chatted an insult to Wallace indicating that Wallace was going overseas to seek out relationships with minors. The YouTuber loudly corrected Sheed, saying that he was only interested in grown women. The The YouTuber is expected to change his mind about travel at least one more time before his scheduled departure date on October 26, 2024.
Chile at a crossroads, has anything changed? I'm Yvette Peterson, and this is a really cool news flashback to January 8, 2023. When we last investigated the life of Jose Chile Decastro, he was at a crossroads. Essentially homeless, evicted from his long-promised studio, sources of revenue drying up, his only legal help leaving him after Decastro accidentally doxed him, but looking towards the new year with hope, resolution and a renewed sense of his place in the universe. 2023 was going to be Chile Decastro's year. He was going to be a source of light and love, he was going to change people's lives with his fasting plan, he was going to make a real difference and real change. His goal was going to lead him down the path of governorship of a major state, and he was going to change the very justice system that he felt has corrupted the great United States. Until he found the road too steep for his borrowed van, essentially giving up on the first day, turning the van around and deciding to go back to the road that led him to poverty, grifting and misery in the first place. The first day of the year did indeed bring change into the life of Jose Decastro. He held a live stream to support Jacqueline Laney Hudson, a 13-year-old girl who was killed in a car accident involving an off-duty police officer. During his live stream, he managed to raise about $800 for the family's GoFundMe towards Laney's funeral. It was a great way to start the year as he showed he could have a positive impact upon the community. He then squashed all that goodwill by going live again, this time to promote his dangerous intermittent fasting program. Claiming that it could cure everything from high blood pressure to gout to cancer, he promised results to his followers that he could not back as he had no real program, scientific evidence or anything more than faith in his knowledge to show his fans. The second day of the year saw problems forming with Decastro and the family of Jacqueline Laney Hudson. He went live again, this time in dramatic tones, attempting to use the subject as part of an uprising against the police. Decastro urged the children of West Virginia to take to the streets in protest, confiscate video equipment from homeowners and businesses in the area where Hudson was killed and not to trust police officers. At one point going as far as to tell witness that they can't trust the police in the area with their reporting and he should be considered the single source of truth for their reports. Decastro, in a heinous move, called Hudson's mother during a candlelight vigil for her daughter to badger her about police corruption. Hudson's mother hung up on him and Decastro dropped all coverage of Hudson's situation. In the middle of the week, YouTube acknowledged Decastro's copyright lawsuit. Attorney Benjamin D. Margot from the lawsuit of Wilson, Sonsini, Goodrich and Rosati, PC, filed a waiver of service of summons with the Massachusetts court, acknowledging the lawsuit and giving a 60-day timetable, starting on December 3, 2022, for YouTube to provide a reply or else face a default judgment. By now, Decastro had another new cause. This time he had heard of a case where the police had raided the hospital room of a cancer patient who was using marijuana to cope with the pain of his treatment. Decastro went live with a video he had found of the alleged incident. Decastro even called the police department in the case, promising to call back daily until he was able to talk to the chief of police and demand real change. Alas, for Decastro, the incident he so dramatically featured was from 2019. Police investigated Nolan Sousley, who was undergoing treatment for stage 4 pancreatic cancer in Missouri, for use of Puff Puff at the hospital. Sousley filmed the police raid himself for his YouTube channel. Sousley died soon after and faced no criminal charges from the raid. A confused Decastro probably had heard of the case of Greg Bretz, a cancer patient in Hays, Kansas, who made national headlines in 2022 when he was charged with drug possession after police raided his hospital room. This had made national headlines in the last week of 2022 and apparently was the inspiration for Decastro's outrage. Bretz's drug charges had been dropped by this point. Decastro, now showing signs of what some would consider mental impairment, live-streamed on Thursday, January 5, 2023, this time explaining that he had been fasting for 22 to 26 hours a day for the past 5 days. He made a rambling and sometimes incoherent statement about how fasting ate cells that were associated with cancer, gout, high blood pressure and diabetes and could even cure aging. Friday, January 6, 2023, was probably the worst day of the week for Decastro. He filed a confusing and disjointed reply to Kate Peter and Josh Abrams' individual motions to dismiss his charges in his federal copyright lawsuit. In his filing, he made it clear that he believed that he did not have to state actual charges or provide evidence against Peter or Abrams, as a general statement that he believed they did something wrong would do. He also doubled down on his demand for the use of the RICO statutes to prosecute Peter and Abrams, as he alleged they were in a criminal conspiracy to use his material he held the copyright for, again, without providing details of his allegations. When Decastro was scheduled to be in a Pierce County, Washington, courtroom for a hearing in Blue Bacon's protection order case, Decastro was auditing a police station in Henderson, Nevada. During the audit, Decastro was verbally assaulted by a mother who was uncomfortable with Decastro's recording as it was near her 13-year-old daughter, who was providing a statement to police. Police separated the two and Decastro used common auditing tactics to belittle and educate the police officers. Declaring himself an alpha male and the police were all betas, Decastro left, reportedly after his chat alerted him that the police were now aware that there were outstanding warrants for his arrest in Ohio. Decastro returned to live streaming later that night. This time focusing on the case of Dion Rebrand, a Wall Street Journal reporter who was detained by police in Arizona in November. Rebrand had made headlines earlier in the day as the Journal demanded an investigation into his detainment. During this broadcast, DeleteLawz Clips, the associate of Decastro who runs his secondary YouTube channel, denied that there was a hearing in the Blue Bacon case and that no protection order was granted, claiming that Decastro had never been served and directing chat to drop the matter. The first week of the year was not good for Jose Chile Decastro. With more failures, bad behavior, apparent mental deterioration due to lack of nutrients, Decastro has now left the family member's house he was staying at. Armed with his bedroll, borrowed van and aged dog Charlie, we can only hope that his second week of 2023 is better than his first.
Hendry pleads for financial support of family. A jailhouse plea from Craig Hendry to help feed his family while he was in jail was not enough to take the GoFundMe Market for the day, as a $100 donation to Sean Paul, Long Island Audit, Reyes Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together campaign took the day. The recorded jailhouse plea from Hendry, similar to the videos Jose Chile Decastro would release when he was in the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center earlier this year, earned a respectable $85 in new donations, but simply wasn't enough to take the day. To make matters worse, the $100 donation went to Reyes' legal defense GoFundMe for a case that was essentially thrown out last week in Schenectady, New York, as the prosecution failed to meet their burden to prove the charges against Reyes. With the case decided, he didn't need the money for his legal defense anymore. Hendry was making a plea on behalf of his girlfriend, who he said was working 7 days a week now to support herself and his 2 children, as Hendry is currently incarcerated in the Vermilion County, Indiana, jail after his bond was revoked in a harassment case was for picking up new felony charges. The YouTuber has no hope of being released before trial, which is currently set for November 19, 2023, as his bond was completely revoked and no bond hearing will be set for the YouTuber. As to the new charges, Hendry confirmed that authorities have sealed the charges out of Sullivan County, Indiana, and they have not been made public as of yet. He said that they involve felony intimidation, disorderly conduct, and refusal to leave an emergency incident area. Hendry asked his fans to call the jail to protest his incarceration, but to remain professional in their calls, as he recalled that 800 calls from his fans were behind the original charges of harassment in the Vermilion case. We will continue to follow this case as we receive updates. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe Market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Denver Metro Audits reports to federal prison. Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova shared some alone time with his mother as she drove him to what would be his final appearance in public for 10 to 15 days, as a federal judge denied his motion to append his sentencing and remanded him into the custody of the United States Marshal Service. Cordova seemed positive in the 7-minute-long live stream with his mother, claiming that he would attempt to have his sentence of 15 days in federal prison, 2 years probation, and a $3,000 fine replaced with 30 to 60 days in jail, as there was no need for him to face probation, as it would hinder his auditing activities. He stated that no matter what happened in court, that his mother would be live streaming with DirectD to keep his channel alive, and that DirectD was a good friend. He also announced that other YouTubers would be providing original content for his channel for the duration of the time spent in federal prison. Cordova was upset about the clauses in federal probation that required him to get a full-time job for up to 30 to 40 hours a week. The YouTuber complained to his fans in previous live streams that auditing was his job and that he could not abide by the terms to stay out of trouble for the 2-year length of his probation. He also claimed that as a citizen of Colorado, he had every legal right to refuse probation. Last week, a federal appeals court upheld his sentencing for his conviction of ignoring official signage and recording in a restricted area at a Denver Area Social Security Administration building in 2022, and ordered Cordova to report to the original trial judge for today's hearing. From the courtroom minutes, it seems that Cordova tried and failed to have his sentence changed at the hearing. Courtroom minutes for proceedings held before Magistrate Judge Michael E. Hegarty. Status conference as to Christopher J. Cordova held on October 22, 2024. Defendant present. Defendant's oral motion to modify sentence to convert 2-year probation sentence to incarceration is denied. Defendant is remanded to the custody of the United States Marshal Service for execution of the previously entered 36 judgment. Hearing concluded. FTR A501. Total time 6 minutes. Hearing time 10:30 a.m. to 10:36 a.m. Text-only entry. Appearances: Thomas Mintzler on behalf of the government, Milo Schwab on behalf of the defendant, Megan Mills on behalf of pretrial. Thumb. Entered October 22, 2024. Under current sentencing guidelines, with good behavior, Cordova is expected to serve 85% of his sentence. That would mean 12 to 13 days in federal prison. This is a breaking news story.
Decastro streams from Hollywood Walk of Fame. An exhausted Jose Chile Decastro was out on the streets of Los Angeles again early Tuesday morning as he live-streamed the arrest of a man on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Decastro, who explained that he ended his first stream early to enable vertical streaming to be exposed to more viewers, saw his live views jump from 75 people watching to 305 people watching as he made the change in format. He explained that before he went live, he approached one of the 6 police officers at the scene and said that he was performing a First Amendment audit. None of the officers reacted to his statement, and he spent most of the time meekly standing around the crime scene, staying out of the way of the officers. At one point, Decastro explained to an officer that it was so strange for the officers in California not to react to him when the officers in Las Vegas arrested him twice and were going to be sued for falsely arresting him after one set of charges was overturned. Strangely, after Decastro signed off for the night, his TeamDLZ.com page started working. The site, to the disappointment of his fans, consists of a hype page promising exclusive details of Decastro's life along with several investor-level pledges that may even offer private conversations with Decastro for a monthly fee. The site itself reads, "As a pledge of Team DLZ, you'll be on the front lines of exciting new projects. Get exclusive, behind-the-scenes updates on Chile's journey to create the Constitutional Law Scholar board game and his cutting-edge technology project. These are innovations aimed at empowering individuals with the knowledge and tools to exercise their constitutional rights. Team DLZ is a community. By pledging, you'll not only support Chile's mission but also connect with like-minded individuals who share your passion for freedom, justice, and truth. Exchange ideas, get updates on legal news, and tap into constitutional law insights that will empower you in your everyday life. Choose the pledge level that fits you best. Each pledge supports Chile's work and gives you access to uncensored content, behind-the-scenes updates, and so much more. Act fast. The first 50 premium and investor-level pledges will receive a signed copy of the Constitutional Law Scholar board game upon its release. The site currently features the following monthly membership levels: Bronze, $12. Silver, $17. Gold, $22. Platinum, $32. Elite, $100. There are no details of what any of the levels entail, but the pricing seems similar to what he currently offers for memberships on YouTube. TeamDLZ.com was embarrassingly down for most of the weekend after Decastro announced that the site was up and fully functional. Decastro was oblivious to the problems that his site was experiencing, claiming that his website guy was on top of all aspects of the site.
Regan Benson explodes at Englewood City Council Meeting. YouTuber and activist Regan Benson verbally exploded at police and the Englewood City Council Monday night after another activist was escorted out of the meeting by police for recording outside of the designated press area. Benson, accompanied by Aurora Transparency, another activist identified as Josh Spoll, and a homeless woman and her teenage daughter, arrived late for the meeting, which itself was plagued by technical difficulties with its YouTube feed and had started late. Before entering the meeting, Benson explained that while she had received an exclusion banning her from the Englewood City Council chambers for 45 days, she was currently appealing the ruling and would be able to speak tonight. She also claimed that she won the exclusion case from the Englewood Public Library, where she had previously been banned from the library for 90 days, with an independent review finding in her favor last week. Both Aurora Transparency and Josh joined Benson in signing up to speak in the public speaking portion of the event. Benson also exchanged words with Officer B. Roberts, who was manning the security desk. She claimed that he promised he'd never participate in abusing someone's free speech at the meetings by arresting them without charges. As the meeting progressed to the public speaking portion, Benson's crew became more and more agitated. Josh mockingly held up a sign reading applause, as applause was not allowed in the meeting due to current guidelines. Aurora Transparency was the first of the group to speak. She recounted the story of how Benson saved Robert, the homeless man who lost part of his leg, who has been in Benson's care since early in the year, and praised Benson. She claimed that Englewood's policy towards homelessness was to leave the homeless to die. She also alerted the council to the inadequacies of their homeless resources flyer on display in parts of the building, calling it useless and outdated. After she finished, Mayor Othniel Sierra asked Mr. Pinkerley to stop recording from his seat or to take a seat in the press area that had been designated for recording. Pinkerley refused and stood up defiantly. He said it was his right to record in the building and no one could stop him. Mayor Sierra put the city council into recess and the majority of the city council members left the chamber. City council members Rita Russell and Kim Wright, both seen as allies of Benson, remained in their seats as they did during Benson's disruption of the meeting 2 weeks ago. A police officer approached Pinkerley and calmly spoke to him for a few minutes before other police officers, including Officer B. Roberts, entered the chamber. Benson and her group started screaming, "Effing police," and other profanities at the police officers, with Benson targeting Roberts as he promised he would not get involved before the meeting. Benson followed as the group of police officers escorted Pinkerley out of the chambers. Once outside of the building, Benson began loudly screaming, "F the police," while Aurora Transparency oinked at the police officers. Pinkerley, who at one point said he had a Second Amendment right to defend himself against police, was put in handcuffs and put into Officer Dirk Smith's police vehicle. Benson targeted Smith, screaming that he was a killer and lunging towards the door of his car before backing away. On her way back into the city council chamber, Benson slammed her purse so hard against the security tray that her phone's camera went out of focus. Aurora Transparency did a FU dance at the back of city council chamber, flipping off police officers. Once the rest of the collective returned to the chamber and the city council resumed business, Josh was called to speak, but declined to do so, as he said he feared being arrested for his opinions. Benson was clearly agitated with Josh's failure to give his prepared remarks. Benson was the final speaker of the night, refusing to give her cross street or town of origin. She eventually said Utopia was her town and went back and forth with Mayor Sierra for 20 seconds of her 3 minutes of allotted time before moving forward. The homeless activist spent the next minute singling out council members and representatives of Englewood city government for insults, then finished her remarks by bizarrely clapping for herself for the last minute of her time. After her remarks, Benson's group remained in the chamber for a few minutes as the council went on with the meeting before exiting. Benson promised that federal civil rights lawsuits had been filed against Englewood police and soon heads would start to roll. She signed out stating that a new warrant for her arrest would be made after her actions earlier in the evening, and she would fight and win against any actions taken against her. DMA Hendry help revive GoFundMe Market. The GoFundMe Market has had a minor resurgence over the past week as YouTubers Craig Hendry and Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova have found themselves placed in jail. Cordova, who is currently serving 15 days in federal prison for offenses at a Social Security Administration building in 2022, had a $10 donation on Tuesday after reporting to prison. This is the first action for Cordova's GoFundMe campaign in over a month, as he managed to bring in $130 in September to be used towards his legal defense before going dormant again. Also surging is Craig Hendry's To Support Craig's Work campaign, which has brought in $130 since Hendry has been incarcerated in the Vermilion County Jail in Indiana for the past week. Hendry has pled for funding to help support his girlfriend and 2 small children while he is incarcerated for charges out of Vermilion, Sullivan, and Greene counties. He claimed that his girlfriend is now working 7 days a week to support their family, and his supporters have begun to provide donations to the campaign. Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Reyes' recent court win in Schenectady, New York, saw a recent strange donation to the fund for his defense in the case of $100, which could also be counted towards the resurgence of the market. However, for every surging campaign, we have the other 6 Reyes-associated fundraisers who are not receiving donations, along with Texas Sheepdogs campaign that was recently added to our list, BZ Watchdogs campaign, Blue Bacon's campaign, and even our own ongoing expenses campaign that have seen a decline in regular donations. The market is fickle, and it's unclear whether or not Hendry and Cordova can sustain their gains as the press coverage surrounding their jail time diminishes. We're already seeing slowdowns for Wednesday for both accounts, and we'll update their situations on Thursday. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Serio calls police on Decline after hearing. First Amendment Auditor Glenn Serio called the police on reporter Decline on Tuesday, following his devastating loss in small claims court, claiming that Klein was brandishing a weapon outside of the courthouse and that he was fearful for his life. Serio had sued Klein for identity theft, fraud, and stalking with malicious intent in Snohomish County, Washington, small claims court, essentially stating that Klein's reporting on Serio caused his social security number and driver's license number to be exposed to the internet. As proof, Serio had a stack of printouts of YouTube screenshots and an Experian third-class mailer that said that his identity could have been among the billions of identities exposed in a data breach. Upon seeing the proof and hearing from both Serio and Klein, Judge Matthew D. Baldock ruled that Serio simply hadn't proved that Klein had damaged him in any way. Dismissing the charges without prejudice, Baldock warned Serio that while he can bring the charges against Klein again, he must have significant proof that Klein had damaged him by exposing his information. After court adjourned, both Klein and Serio were walking around the courthouse parking lot. Serio's father, Glenn Serio Sr., made his way to his son's car without incident. His son, upon seeing Klein, began to scream for help and that his life was in danger. Calling 911, Serio Jr. reported that Klein was brandishing a weapon and that he was fearful for his life, prompting a response from Linwood, Washington, police. Klein, upon hearing Serio's cries for help, re-entered the courthouse and sought out the sheriff, who had been monitoring 911 calls and who was aware of the situation as she entered his office. The sheriff searched Klein's bag, noting that Klein's bag had already been through security twice without a weapon, and went outside to tell the 3 Linwood police officers who had arrived at the building that Klein was not armed. After taking Serio's statement, Serio demanded a supervisor on scene and had recorded the incident. Everyone waited for the anticlimactic arrival of the supervisor, who declined to take Klein into custody despite Serio's claims that he was in fear of her life. This was the latest defeat for Serio, who is suing various members of Washington state's local police forces, workers and reporters in small claims court to fund his planned multi-million-dollar federal civil rights lawsuits against assorted towns in the state. Serio's next target is Everett police worker Erica Bennett, who Serio is suing for writing a police bulletin several years ago on Serio that contained both his social security number and driver's license number. That hearing is set for early December. Hendry announces he is on hunger strike. Craig Hendry's Tuesday audio update from the Vermilion County Jail in Ohio saw the YouTuber announce that he had not eaten in the week since being in jail and had no plans on eating since he believed the jail was poisoning his food. Hendry complained that after a week of refusing to eat the food, no one from the medical facilities at the jail had come and checked on him. He said he had lost a lot of weight and claimed he appeared malnourished on the audio call. This is the second time this year that Hendry has refused to eat due to his belief that jail food was poisoned. When he was incarcerated earlier in the year due to a bond revocation, he again claimed that the food was poisoned and that he did not eat during that time. New to Hendry's claims come his contention that he was offered a plea deal at the hearing that revoked his bond in the Vermilion case. He says that he was offered a plea that would see him plead guilty to a Class B misdemeanor and have given him probation. He would have then been sent to face the Sullivan County charges that remain under seal. Hendry also claimed that neither his defense attorney nor the prosecutor had seen the Sullivan County charges and that the judge in the case made the determination to revoke bond on his own. Erica, the girlfriend of political prisoner Hendry, did 2 live streams on Tuesday to back up Hendry's claims. In her version of events, Hendry was set to travel to Auditpalooza in Florida this week, where he was scheduled to speak when his bond was revoked. She backed his claims that the Sullivan County charges have remained sealed and no one has access to them. Erica said that she had heard that there would be a bond hearing by October 28, 2024 for the Sullivan County charges. Hendry's bond is reportedly $12,000 in that case, and she's unsure if she needed to raise the whole $12,000 or 10%. $1,200 in order to get Hendry released. According to Erica, Hendry will remain in jail until his November 19, 2024 trial in Vermilion County. Once he's done there, he'll be sent to Sullivan County to face those charges. Then he'll be sent to Greene County to face another set of charges. Saying that she did not expect her boyfriend to be released in the near future, she asked her viewers to send Hendry books via the jail's Amazon program that had been previously detailed in Hendry's first audio statement from the jail on Monday. The GoFundMe set up for Hendry saw another $50 donation on Tuesday. Hendry had directed all of his fans to use the GoFundMe to help support Erica and his 2 young children during his incarceration.
Decastro claims Kate Peter hacked new website. I'm Yvette Peterson, and this article was originally presented on January 12, 2023. Jose Chile Decastro interviewed YouTuber Good Citizen News on January 12, 2023. The live stream focused on Good Citizen News visiting a juvenile detention center in Harris County, Texas, earlier in the day, where he was briefly detained by police after refusing to show identification. Good Citizen News was released by police without charges and had red marks on his wrists from the handcuffs. Decastro took issue with the treatment of Good Citizen News while promoting his new website endtorturecuffs.com. He stated that he would be writing an intent to sue document for Good Citizen News later that night for Good Citizen News to present to officials in Harris County, Texas. Apparently addressing Kate Peter, who reviewed Decastro's website on her live stream the previous night, Decastro stated that he would be taking legal action as he feels that the review exposed trade secrets for claims made on her broadcast, including that a simple reverse image search disproved that the images Decastro used for testimonials were apparently not authentic examples of damage caused by handcuffs. Decastro's website had been published and was accessible to anyone with an internet browser until late day on Thursday when it was removed. A cached copy of the site remains in Bing's cache. Users in various internet forums, including Chill Watch on Kate Peters' Discord server, had also made accusations that the testimonials provided on the site by Decastro were written by an OpenAI website, which Decastro has allegedly admitted using for his more recent legal filings.
Denver Metro audits to self-revoke probation. Christopher Direct D. Ruff's 9-hour live stream, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, saw an appearance by the newly incarcerated auditor Christopher, Denver Metro Audits, Cordova, who was calling in from Colorado's Jefferson County Jail. Cordova explained that because his sentence was only 15 days long, federal authorities declined to put him into the federal system. Instead, Cordova is being housed at the Jefferson County Jail for the duration of his sentence. The incarcerated YouTuber is not expected to get time off for good behavior due to the length of his sentence and complained bitterly that he was never explained the rules of the facility or the times where inmates are allowed to be active. He said for the first 2 days he was unaware of the times he could leave his cell to take a shower or hang out with other inmates. Cordova was also unaware of how much time he had on the phone, as he spent a good 3 to 5 minutes speaking with Ruff with the volume muted on Ruff's live stream, before Ruff allowed the rest of the conversation to be heard by his viewers. Alas, that audio lasted for a little over 2 minutes before the automated phone system cut Cordova off. Cordova's second attempt at a call from the jail ended almost immediately, as he seemed to be out of prepaid time. Cordova did not get to make a plea for people to send him PayPal or GoFundMe donations, or to put money on his commissary account. Unlike Jose Chile Decastro's broadcasts, Ruff was ill-prepared to help Cordova and was unable to organize his fans to get Cordova the extra help he'll need while incarcerated. In the brief time he was featured, the YouTuber complained that the judge would not entertain the thought of trading his 15-day sentence and 2 years probation for a 30-day sentence. Cordova made a comment that he would figure out how to revoke his own probation once he was out of jail. He has previously said that he could not continue to audit with the threat of more punishment hanging over his head should he be arrested within the 2-year probationary period. On the GoFundMe front, both Cordova and Craig Hendry's GoFundMe campaigns cratered on Wednesday. With no new advertising for either, fans seem to have given up on the promising campaigns. Our own ongoing expenses campaign won the day with a $40 donation from an anonymous donor. The only other donation of note for Wednesday was a $10 donation for Long Island Audit's Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights campaign. That campaign no longer needs donations as Sean Paul, Long Island Audit, Reyes was found innocent of the charges that sparked the campaign last week. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos like share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Craig Hendry begs on Decastro livestream. Incarcerated YouTuber Craig Hendry made an appearance on Jose Chile Decastro's Wednesday night livestream from the Vermilion County Jail in Indiana Wednesday night to discuss his current living conditions in the jail. After being greeted by Decastro, Hendry repeated the now familiar story of how he ended up in the Vermilion County Jail. His bond for harassment charges Vermilion County was revoked last week at a hearing for the charges as he had picked up new charges in Sullivan County, Indiana. No one has seen the charges out of Sullivan County, except Hendry, who claims he only saw the crimes he was charged with and no details of what he was alleged to have done. The Sullivan County charges are sealed, according to Hendry, and his charges have yet to appear on his public mycase.in.gov page. Unlike Christopher Denver Metro Audit's Cordova's appearance on DirectD's live stream, both Hendry and Decastro were prepared for the appearance as Decastro directly solicited Hendry's inmate ID and that the Vermilion County Jail participated in the jail ATM program. When Hendry mentioned that he had not eaten in the 8 days since he entered the facility, Decastro directed his fans to immediately flood Hendry's jail ATM account with money for his commissary and for his phone. He also suggested sending Hendry gift baskets from the choice of gift baskets available on the site. Decastro, now an old hand with jail ATM and fundraising for incarcerated auditors, recounted how he has helped other auditors such as Jason Dollarhide, LDOF auditor Jeremiah Payne and Garrett Press with Ranker Van Net out in the past. Press with Ranker is of note as Decastro, who had previously agreed to pay the entire $40,000 for Press with Ranker's legal fees, stated that he paid $8,000 towards those fees with a friend from the North donating another $5,000. That would leave a balance of $25,000 that Decastro had signed a contract to pay in full. Ranker and Decastro notoriously ended their friendship over the summer as Ranker was found guilty of all charges after following Decastro's legal advice. He has not been mentioned on Decastro's live streams since midsummer. Decastro, stating that he and Hendry were good friends who could talk for hours, promised that he would not forget Hendry and that he would put aside as much money as possible toward Hendry's commissary account despite being so poor that he couldn't afford to pay attention. It is unclear if Hendry violated jail policies by having his phone conversation with Decastro live-streamed. Decastro himself spent time in the hole in the Clark County, Nevada, detention center earlier this year as punishment for having his assistant live stream a call from Decastro within the jail on his YouTube channel. An email inquiry to the sheriff's office remained unanswered as of press time. Decastro worried about low Team DLZ signups. Jose Chile Decastro's TeamDLZ.com might not have had the best launch after being down for multiple days after Decastro declared that it was up and running, as the YouTuber took his frustrations with the site to his audience on his Wednesday evening livestream. Decastro seemed upset about the limited number of subscribers to his site. Unlike his Patreon page, which also recently launched promising most everything the TeamDLZ.com site does, TeamDLZ.com does not offer a free membership tier or examples of what the different membership levels to the site would bring. There's literally no distinction between the membership levels or explanation of perks on the site. While talking directly to Decastro is mentioned, there's no examples of forums or areas where his members would go to communicate with Decastro in the free area before visitors are requested to make a payment to go further into the site. More troubling, there's no cookie policy on the site. Users are offered no indication of what the site is tracking or what details the site collects during the sign-up process. The lack of a clear policy, when the site does use cookies, is a violation of the law in some countries. Worse yet, Decastro has indicated that TeamDLZ.com will be a catch-all site that will essentially replace YouTube, Discord forums, Patreon and other sites Decastro is active on because it is the only site where he'll have full assurances that the people he's talking to are not catfishing him or using false identification. It is unclear how Decastro will verify this information or what else he will have access to from the extensive use of cookies on the site. Decastro seemed more worried about the lack of users on the site than this policy as the live stream progressed. Decastro promised that he would be adding a $5 base level for users. He then went into a pitch for the site as a place where his fans could hear his uncensored thoughts about events in the world, including the new California mask mandate for some healthcare workers, which would previously be censored by YouTube. The promised $5 membership base level was not available to users of TeamDLZ.com as of press time.
Long Island audit charge in Nassau County, New York. Sean Paul, Long Island audit Reyes, and his attorney Jacob Uriel went live after Reyes was arraigned in Nassau County, New York for charges of criminal contempt in the second degree, criminal trespass in the third degree, and violation of trespass for an incident in September at the Nassau County Traffic Violations Bureau. Reyes, who had pre-titled his live stream that day before the arrest as "You're arresting me again. Big mistake," and featuring a description that read, "Activist unlawfully arrested for the third time. This tyranny needs to stop," had gone to the building as he had a tip-off from a high-level official in the Nassau County Police Force that he would be arrested upon entry to the building. The YouTuber blamed Nassau County Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder for the arrest and said it was part of a continuing vendetta Ryder had against him for exposing corruption. Reyes had previously demonstrated outside of Ryder's home in Nassau County using a billboard truck he purchased with the sole intent of harassing those he disagreed with. On the day of the arrest, Reyes was told upon entering the Nassau County Traffic Violations Bureau building that the building was closed for the day. Reyes was mostly ignored by security guards but encountered a police officer who asked what he needed, and Reyes explained that he was there to do a constitutionally protected activity. Reyes argued in this afternoon's statement that he was never told that he had to leave, just that the building was closed for the day. Reyes claimed that the entire incident with police was recorded as he was recording both with his phone and was secretly recording with the camera on his sunglasses after his phone was taken from him. 2 police officers arrested him, and he was initially charged with trespass. However, his charges were changed to the current charges after it was discovered that Reyes had never officially been trespassed from the building. Uriel and Reyes stated that they were 4-0 in cases so far in New York State and would be moving to 5-0 after defeating the charges in front of them. As Reyes loudly pondered writing a book, Uriel pondered writing a wrongful arrest lawsuit on Reyes' behalf. The two seemed confident that they would beat the charges and that his fans would be outraged by the charges when he made copies available to the public later today. This is a breaking news story. Floyd Wallace chooses to go to jail? YouTuber Floyd Wallace announced on his Thursday night live stream that he was considering turning himself in early for charges in Oklahoma so he could serve out his pending jail time and be back to sex tourism by the end of the year. Wallace is currently scheduled for a November 12th blind plea deal, which he's explained as a judge deciding his fate. In Wallace's current version of events, the prosecutor in the case wanted him to serve a 2-month jail sentence for obstructing an officer in the course of his duties back in 2023, while his defense attorney wanted a lesser sentence. The two sides had agreed to let the judge in the case decide how much jail time Wallace was going to get, as neither side could decide what the appropriate sentence would be. As part of the deal, Wallace agreed to plead guilty to the misdemeanor charges. The YouTuber has hedged his bets in recent live streams, saying he wanted to fire his attorney so he could redo the deal. In Thursday's live stream, Wallace explained that he was a victim of racism in the latest version of the story and that the only reason he was arrested in the first place, besides racism, was that the police knew that he was associated with Jose Chile Decastro. In the only version of the story that would make any sense, the police in Cleveland County knew that Decastro sent Wallace to audit the Cleveland County Jail, as that was where Jason Dollarhide, a Decastro associate, was then currently locked up as he was being held for multiple charges. The police somehow knew that any auditors who arrived on scene would represent Decastro and should be incarcerated due to the association. Or they were just racist, or were looking to victimize Wallace, or all three. Wallace admitted that he was extremely nervous about going back to jail, but put a positive spin on it, now claiming that if he got a full 2 months in jail, he'd only serve 25 days, down from 28 and 26, and would be out of jail for his birthday, which now could be spent outside of the United States if his sentence started on November 12th. He then pondered turning himself in early, despite not being sentenced, in order to start his sex tourism travels by mid-November. He was dividing his thoughts between this idea, waiting for his November 12th court date, and firing his attorney and trying for a new court date as he ended the live stream. Wallace was originally scheduled to leave for his latest trip to Colombia on October 26, 2024. We'll update this report should we get word that he's left the country.
DeleteLawz gets another delay in Las Vegas suit. Friday saw the best news Chile Decastro had in a while. His attorney was granted a one-week extension to reply to the latest motion for summary judgment by the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. Decastro's attorney, Michael Mee, now has until November 1, 2024, to respond to the LVMPD motion for summary judgment as Mee was working on another trial, Whipple v. Whipple, in the 8th Judicial District and was unable to devote time to answering the motion. The current motion for summary judgment is seeking to throw out Decastro's state law false arrest and unlawful search and seizure claims along with his invasion of privacy claim. Despite the outcome of the motion, the following charges are set to go forward to trial. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 Fourth Amendment excessive force and excessive force claim against Officers Bork and Sandoval based upon Nevada Constitution. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 First Amendment chilling claim and free speech violation claim, and a claim based upon Nevada Constitution against Officer Bork and Sergeant Torrey. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 First Amendment retaliation claim and free speech violation claim based upon Nevada Constitution against Officer Bork and Sergeant Torrey. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 Selective Enforcement and Unequal Police Action Claim against OFC Bork and Sergeant Torrey as to theory of selective arrest based upon exercise of constitutional rights. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983 Selective Enforcement and Unequal Police Action Claim for OFC Bork and Sergeant Torrey as to theory of selective arrest based upon exercise of constitutional rights. Nevada state law battery claim as to OFC Bork and OFC Sandoval. The defense did not object to allowing me more time to respond to the motion and the extension was granted. This development is one of the few positives for Decastro in recent weeks. After moving back to Los Angeles and establishing his new studio, Decastro has suffered a series of mishaps that has seen him lose ground in his fight for relevancy as other auditors seem to be taking over his previously occupied space in the auditing world. Decastro's recent launch of his Patreon page went sideways as he only managed to attract a little over 50 non-paying members while attracting only 5 members at the base $10 rate. The YouTuber then apparently abandoned the Patreon page to work on TeamDLZ.com. TeamDLZ.com, of course, has been plagued with startup issues including the fact that it wasn't working for days after Decastro declared it had a successful launch. As it currently stands, it offers a hype page directing fans to sign up for various membership levels but doesn't offer free content or anything to explain the differences between those membership levels. Decastro is banking on the fact that it is a paid site where his thoughts are unregulated by YouTube or other influences to draw in paying customers. Even after the disaster that was his Patreon launch, Decastro claims his current 623,000 YouTube subscribers are indeed real and will be willing to sign up for his new project starting at $9.99 a month. While the YouTuber promised a $4.99 starting price point after his YouTube audience complained about the lack of a lower-cost plan, it has yet to materialize as of press time. It is unclear how things are going with the site, though the constant complaints about the current pricing may indicate problems facing the YouTube personality.
Benson shares tale of homeless Englewood man. Regan Benson has again posted her video channel exclusive footage in her ongoing war against the police in Englewood, Colorado, as she's released what she claims to be footage of Zeph Pinkerley being served an exclusion notice from the Englewood Civic Center from last weekend. In the brief video, she approaches as several police officers have Pinkerley surrounded and held up a piece of paper that seemed to be an exclusion notice. Pinkerley said that he can't be trespassed from a public building without committing a crime. He then refused to take the notice. After the officers dispersed, Pinkerley explained to Benson that he was telling the officers the difference between private and public property and how he believed that he could not be trespassed from public property without committing a crime. Benson and Pinkerley then approached the vehicle of one of the officers for more information. Benson asked if Pinkerley was given an exclusion notice. The officer said that Pinkerley refused to accept it, so no, they did not. Pinkerley asked where he was excluded from, and the officer asked if Pinkerley listened when the other officers were explaining the exclusion notice. Pinkerley apparently did not. The officer began talking to dispatch and ended up leaving the area without replying to Pinkerley or Benson's questions. The exclusion notices are based on Englewood's long-standing codes of conduct for their civic center, which is a converted mall that houses the Englewood city government. Earlier in the year, Benson was served an exclusion notice that she appealed and won, after she verbally assaulted an allied security guard who was on bathroom duty at the Englewood Public Library, located on the lower floor of the center. Englewood botched that case. As an emergency dispatcher talked to Frauditor Troll about the situation with Benson, and Frauditor Troll played the recording on air, exposing what Benson claimed to be collusion between Frauditor Troll and dispatch. Benson was charged with harassment after the call, with the charges later being dropped at trial. Benson, a self-appointed monitor of the police in Englewood, has made a name for herself with her interactions at the Englewood Civic Center, starting with an incident in 2022 where she wasn't allowed to use the third-floor private employee bathrooms. Since that incident, Englewood has been a focus of her videos, with the YouTuber filming herself targeting employees she doesn't like or agree with to be subjects of her videos. Often pairing with the currently incarcerated Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova, Benson has been a fixture at the bi-weekly Englewood City Council meetings, where she has been known to deliver highly critical speeches containing personal attacks against members of the city council to the delight of her viewers. Pinkerley was recently removed from last week's Englewood City Council meeting for recording outside of a designated area set up for members of the press. Benson reported that Pinkerley received a 120-day exclusion notice for his actions. Denver Metro Audits Hendry vanish after live stream appearances. Both First Amendment auditors and independent journalist Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova and Craig Hendry defiantly called into live streams while being incarcerated this week before mysteriously going silent in the wake of possibly violating jail guidelines. Craig Hendry had bond revoked on harassment charges in Indiana in early October and will be sitting in the Vermilion County Jail until at least the start of his November 19th trial for the charges. His associates had released a pair of videos of telephone recordings addresses he made to his followers, similar to Jose Chile Decastro's addresses from jail when he was incarcerated in the Clark County Detention Center earlier this year. Hendry then called into Decastro's live stream Wednesday night in order to address Decastro's shared fans. Decastro made a pitch for his fans to fill Hendry's commissary account and to send him gifts baskets and books. Decastro also made a pitch for his fans to write the jail on Hendry's behalf. The YouTuber posted a community post that he sent Hendry a book written by Ayn Rand and then radio silence. No updates have been posted on either Decastro's page or Hendry's multiple pages since then. Cordova appeared on Christopher Direct D Ruff's later the same night as he was live from the Jefferson County Jail in Colorado. The YouTuber had less time as he spent about 5 minutes talking to Ruff while on mute before addressing Ruff's audience. The activist said he was still unsure of the facility's rules and was in the middle of a session where he was about to describe how he was going to self-revoke his probation when he ran out of prepaid time and was cut off. He has not made another appearance on Ruff's YouTube channel nor posted an update since the incident. Both Cordova and Hendry's GoFundMe accounts have tanked since their appearances, with neither taking in new donations since an early flurry this week. Long Island Audits Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign took Thursday with a $25 donation. Long Island Audits Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights campaign took Friday with a $5 donation. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe Market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here, and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Guerrilla Publishing updates legal status. Ron Durbin of Guerrilla Publishing released an update live stream on Thursday detailing his health and legal challenges following both his arrest and his heart incident earlier this month. Durbin was taking part in the Lexington takeover in Lexington, Mississippi, earlier in the month when he was arrested in Pearl, Mississippi, for trespassing in the mayor's office. During the arrest, Durbin had chest pains and ended up being hospitalized overnight for heart issues. He voluntarily accompanied a Pearl police officer back to Pearl from the hospital the next afternoon and was arraigned for the trespassing charge and released after posting $1,600 out of his $20,000 bond. Starting with his health, Durbin assured his fans that he was doing better and had a cardiac catheterization with his regular doctor as soon as he got home. He was doing better now and that he didn't want anyone to feel sorry for him as his health issues will be ongoing and he's dealing with them the best he can. Addressing the chief of police from Pearl, Mississippi, who arrested him, Durbin promised an upcoming expose on the man. Durbin promised that he had pages and pages of the chief's history as an officer before he was police chief and would be exposing an extensive history of corruption. The corruption supposedly dated back to when the chief was a member of the Goon Squad in Richards, Mississippi, which Durbin described as a corrupt faction of police officers. The YouTuber said he had directly contacted the United States Department of Justice about his arrest in Pearl, but offered no information or updates to the status of that complaint. Durbin also did not address his ongoing issues with James Freeman and Sean Buckner, who deserted his Lexington takeover when Durbin experienced his health issues. The YouTuber updated the status of his suspended law license in Oklahoma. Durbin said that he had spent 30 hours drafting a lawsuit in order to have his law license restored in Oklahoma and had another 45-page brief that he was filing in the Western District of Oklahoma for a motion of injunctive relief against the Oklahoma Bar Association. He stated that his intention was to have his license restored so he could resign from the Oklahoma Bar Association, as his pending legal actions were designed to destroy the organization.
DeleteLawz pivots, Rebrand to launch Monday? All wasn't well with Chile Decastro on his Friday night live stream as the YouTuber announced that due to continued interference from YouTube, he would be launching his new First Amendment Auditor channel on Monday. No one is sure which Monday Decastro was referring to, or if he knew that Monday was just 2 days away, as most of his longtime followers know that he is temporally challenged at best, but he stood firm to Monday, if not sooner, as his launch date for the new endeavor. Decastro has stated that a rebrand from DeleteLawz to First Amendment Auditor is required as he's been censored to death by YouTube's polices and that the shadow banning is keeping him from reaching his full 230,000 subscribers. He has also attempted to trademark the term First Amendment Auditor and has previously stated his desire to unite all First Amendment auditors in the United States under his control, forcing them to be part of an organization where they would have to pay him dues as a money-making organization. Why he's rebranding when he literally just launched a DeleteLawz Patreon and a paid Team DLZ website is beyond anyone, but the activist seems hell-bent on moving forward with the rebrand, or how things will change when he starts from square one on the exact same video service that he is accused of censoring, banning, and holding back his ideas in the past. Decastro has a long history with YouTube, as he's been denied a YouTube Creators Plaques in the past for reaching member milestones due to channel suspensions and controversies surrounding his alleged use of outside sources to gain subscribers and views. Both Decastro and former business partner Colin Project Constitution Campbell have denied any outside purchases, but mysteries remain how Decastro can achieve such high numbers of subscribers while his live stream attendance and viewership never change. The Friday night live stream pulled in $72 in super chats, with more money coming in via membership gifting. He also announced that the proposed $4.99 base price point on TeamDLZ.com was now a $5.99 price point and should be up immediately as a sign-up option for his users. Decastro provided no updates on the status of Craig Hendry, an imprisoned First Amendment auditor from Indiana who appeared on his last live stream, but said that he would be following up on the status of Don Newman, another jailed individual he is said to be helping. As part of that help, thank you Ed H., Decastro spent time on Guns and Hoses basketball post made on the Facebook page for the Ogden, Utah, Police Department. Decastro threatened the department with a lawsuit should any messages at all go missing, as Decastro has now determined it is illegal for police departments to remove posts on social media. Again, why he picked to threaten anyone on a Guns and Hoses basketball tournament in an area vaguely associated with Newman is all on Decastro, but he wrote, "OPD is a scumbag, pig shack in Ogden, Utah. What you guys have done to Don Newman, to James Walt English, as well as Jose from Utah Cop Watch, one day will be avenged through the proper legal remedies. Let me tell you what I'll promise you scumbags." I read this. The OPD FB page is to share pertinent information. If you post profanity, discriminatory content, or derogatory language, your post may be hidden or removed. That's incorrect. You may do that and I'll hold you accountable if you do. I'll be monitoring this FB page. And if you remove or hide a single comment, that's when you guys will get to meet me when I'm serving the lawsuit. See, Hawaii Defense Foundation vs. City and County of Honolulu. You remove or hide a single comment. And, I'll sue you. What a suck-ass, scumbag pig shack in Ogden. When I show up to small town, people come out in the hundred to meet me and tell me their stories. I'll be promoting my trip to Ogden on this publicly pig shack page. Imna take a screenshot of this comment and I'll be back tomorrow and every day to check on my comments and others. Tomorrow, other people will start commenting. If anybody reading this has had their comment removed or hidden, please contact me. DeleteLawz@gmail.com. I'm looking FWD to suing these filthy pigs. If you leave a truthful comment for these dirty pigs, you must screenshot it, for proof. And then, we'll sue their asses. To the Ogden pigs running this page, you cannot delete or hide my comments or anybody else's. That's not how it works. And, I'll be happy to take the city's money if you do. We will continue to monitor his threats as he continues to monitor the police department's participation in the basketball tournament.